You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam and I'm your host. And today's episode will be brought to you after this question from our characters.
I think imagine at some point this might be in the imminent journey. I'm not sure when the best time he would have asked this is. But the question is to Roy. Roy, are you intending to be, or intended to be, a generational nanny for the Barr family?
You mean if Barr has babies, am I going to be their nanny?
Yeah. You seem interested in the Barr family growing.
It would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I could show them how to use a blaster again. That'd be cool. No, I reckon I'm gonna be a cool uncle. Yeah, I'm gonna be a cool uncle. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's go borrow a speedo. Hey, it's no bother with their little home late. I thought it was okay. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm gonna give them their first drink. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be an uncle. That'll be awesome. Hey, Barr, go make a baby.
Hi, my name's Ed Fortune, and this is Force Majeure, as you probably gathered because you clicked on the button that says Force Majeure, and this is episode 3 of season 3 of Shadows of the Jedi. Obviously, I couldn't run a game of Star Wars without some friends, and luckily I have some, despite all evidence to the contrary. Let's get them to introduce themselves, just so you have a rough idea as to what's going on. Let's start with Mim.
Hi, I'm Mim. I play Roy. He's a modified B1 battle droid. His specializations are bodyguard and heavy, with a career as a hired gun.
And he wants a baby.
Hi, I'm Mikey. I play Kay. He's a human starfighter Isotero striker. His emotional strength is his compassion, but his emotional weakness is the fact that he's kind of a hateful person. His emotional weakness is his hatred.
Hi, I'm Ross. I play Dr. Smex Karam Denaloa, a Syrian consular healer whose emotional strength is his compassion, but whose weakness is his obstinacy.
And my name is Adam. I am playing Tychus Barr, a Basilisk Guardian Armourer whose emotional strength is his bravery and his emotional weakness is his recklessness.
Hey, Doc, you got a lot of wives. You got a spare baby?
They don't really come in spare varieties.
That's just poor planning.
No, not really. I think they're all kind of essential. I don't think of any of them as sort of redundant or backups. I don't think that's how that works. They're all valuable.
Call yourself a scientist.
I always figured if something happened to Barr, his parents would just grab one of his friends and start calling him Barr.
Entrevian philosopher Ibsen Law remarked upon musing on the cessation of hostilities between Jedi and Sith, many, many years before the Battle of Yavin, that the Force is not defined by the club that you're in, but the way that one lives one's life. Alas, Law is mostly ignored by pretty much everyone, including Jedi and Sith scholars. There is something to be said for not being quite so blunt. Where we left off, you were in hyperspace, I believe.
We just entered the hyperspace.
Yes. We just dropped into hyperspace on our way to Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us knew about it, and some of us are flying around the back of the engine room going, what's going on?
Okay, it's going to take a couple of days.
Okay.
Coming from where you're coming from, you have an amount of time which will leave, I say a couple of days, we're going to leave that a little bit flabby just for, so you can get stuff done if you wish, but you have some time aboard the ship to get things done. Not a lot of time, but you have, you have a couple of sleeps before you will get there. Your route is the best that you can manage.
Well, it wasn't a really easy entrance to hyperspace, so we get what we can, really. So I pop over on the comms and go, okay, we're free, we're clear. We've got a while. Smoke them if you got them.
Don't smoke death sticks. They're not good for you.
Well, that's not what this commercial I've just heard said. Hey kids!
Don't smoke death sticks, or you choke and then turn blue.
This is your captain speaking. You'll notice I've turned off the Roy doesn't have to sing about strapping in and buckling up anymore sign. So feel free to walk around the cabin.
Right, well, before we go any further, while we've got this moment in time, I think I'm going to see what I can do to patch up some of the internal damage we took during our escape there. Come on, 455, let's see what we can do. Ed, I know technically it's a combat action, but I didn't get opportunity in combat. Can I please make a damage control roll to repair some of the hull trauma we've taken? Some of the internal...
Yes, you can. And you can do that with additional 2 blue.
Thank you very much.
Because you have time, because you're not under combat conditions. And also you have all the toys, if you set them in. There should be some setback there, but I'm pretty sure your abilities remove those.
They do. Mikey, what's the current hull threshold and damage taken of the Fire Opal, please, mate?
System strain, we have 8 out of 10. Hull trauma, we're on 15 out of 26.
Cool, so it's less than half at the moment.
Also, before Kay goes into autopilot or what have you,
Yep.
you do notice that there are a couple of knobs and buttons flashing on the console. Can I have an astrogation roll? You can either spend your time under the warning that if you spend too much time, you might miss whatever this is.
Yep.
Or you can go for a quick roll. So you can have up to 3 blue dice, but to tell me how many dice you want, under the understanding that the more you take, that there is possibly a risk. The difficulty would be 2.
Okay. We won't just glance at it and forget about it, so we will do just 1 there.
Okay.
Oh dear. That's a failure, but with 1 advantage.
Okay. So there is a shadow in hyperspace.
Yeah.
You can't for the life of you see where that is or what that is.
Okay.
There is a navigational threat. You're going to have to deal with it when you're coming out, because you can't deal with it now. You don't know where it is. You keep trying, and it's close. Maybe you pulled something in.
Yeah. Or we might be being followed.
Maybe you're being followed. You don't know.
I'll say exactly that to over the comms. So said, everybody, bar specifically, I think we've either dragged something in with us or we're being followed. I can't see what it is, but I can see a shadow on the astrogation charts. So when we pop out of hyperspace, I want everybody at red alert before we pop out.
That does mean changing the bulb, sir.
Are you absolutely sure that there's not just a smoosh on the screen?
And Roy starts cleaning the screen.
Absolutely sure there's not just a smush on the screen. And I just want to remind you, Roy, that we have 1 bulb, it's red, we're either fine or about to die. No middle ground.
All right, well, we'll be aware when we come out. Mm-hmm. I've managed to patch up as best I can, and she should be purring like a kitten for us to come out. Certainly I've done the best I can without getting into a star dock, because I rolled at 2 successes, 6 advantage, and a triumph.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Ooh. That will repair 2 of our hull trauma, Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those advantage to clear those 2 system strain. The triumph, what I would like to do is I would like to bank that for an upgrade on Kay's first piloting roll on exiting hyperspace. Effectively, there's a little bit of juice being kept in the engine so that when we leave hyperspace, we can turbo boost out and away from whatever it is, just to give us a little bit more clearance in case we are being pursued.
Oh, Adam, certainly in Star Wars, when things come out of hyperspace, they come out and kind of cruise. They go boom, and then they're there just at all. Maybe we could come out at full speed.
Yeah, so can I have the 4 advantage for us to come out at full speed from hyperspace?
Yep.
And the triumph to be basically a banked upgrade for a piloting check to represent the fact that we're coming out at full speed. It gives us that extra moment of response.
That's a fair use of a triumph. You can definitely make that happen.
Yeah, like a banked supercharger, effectively, so that as we're dropping out of hyperspace, the coaxium goes in and we'll just go poof, like at that point of release.
Because it's an old but beautiful ship, I'd like it to be like a kind of a revelation that you're like, oh, that was designed cleverly. I can do that.
Yeah.
As you kind of get a deeper understanding as to the mindset of, it's impossible to imagine all of these engineers without them having pipes and possibly flat caps.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, brown aprons.
Is it really bad that part of my brain is going, I bet when they come out of hyperspace, they have to be going either slow or they have to stop and it's just the energy continuing to push them forward. Because otherwise, as they start to exit hyperspace, the back of the ship is going to be going at light speed and the front of the ship won't be, which just means that the back of the ship is going to smush through the front of the ship. So you've found a way to not do that, to basically manage to slow the entire ship down during light speed or at the point at which the final tail end of the ship is out, immediately accelerate. See, I think about this stuff. I vaguely understand physics, I think.
More than me. Yeah, that sounds suitably plausible. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Over the course of the journey, assuming Ed doesn't mind me chipping in here with my own little vignette, Tychus spends almost all of it in the workshop. And you can hear him in there pretty much all hours of the day, popping out only to use the fresher and to refill the extremely large mugs of coffee he's got working. And anyone who comes into the workshop to see what he's doing will see, first of all, that Clementine has been stripped down and is being cleaned, and there's clearly some work being done on Clementine. What he's also doing, though, is he's taken all the bags of stuff that we looted from the temple, including those suits of ancient archaic armour, and he's welding them onto his pit crew overalls that he normally wears, and onto spare bits of metal from when we repaired the ship, and like other bits and bats that he brought from his workshop here, because when we were rebuilding the Fire Opal, you know, he just dragged all of his tools over and all of his spare bits of interesting metal and stuff we'd salvaged from other ruins to just in case we needed that hypermatter fusion transducer or these polynomic servos and that sort of stuff. And on a rudimentary mannequin that he's assembled from, you know, a bucket and some rebar and that sort of stuff, he's building what looks to be a suit of armour.
It's not rebar, it's pre-bar, because it's going to go on you
Yes.
Well, if we're going to do this and just spend a little bit of time reinforcing what our characters are like when they're doing this, Roy seems to be at a bit of a loose end. Because Bar's spending a lot of time with his other droid, who is much more efficient, shall we say, at helping, because there's less jabber, there's more direct, you want me to do this, I will do this. So Roy spends a lot of time hanging around with the doc, trying to help him unpack and set up a sort of medical area, and an awful lot of time just meandering around in the front with Kay, going,
What's that do?
and then not even listening to the answer.
What's that do? How about that? If we push that and then push that, what would happen?
The bear can will fall off.
If you went backwards through light speed, would you go backwards in time if you went backwards in light speed, or would it just be like really fast backward?
I'm not sure you could do that, but we could try.
What if you went sideways through light speed?
I think the ship would rip in half.
Just a handbrake drift as you hit light speed. Mario Kart style.
And you can kind of tell that Roy is a little out of sorts until he sort of wanders into the workshop one day, sits on the side and kicks his legs like a 12-year-old. And just goes,
Bar?
Aye, Roy? What's up, brother?
Is this home now?
Huh. Antiochus kind of stops and puts his weirdly shaped tools down and kind of turns around to face Roy, and his upper left arm comes up to scratch at his wattle absent-mindedly, and his upper right arm kind of tucks into his kind of stomach pocket, and his lower arms, without really realising it, then start picking up and awkwardly shuffling some of the tools around in his tool belt. Do you know, like, I think it might be, or at least in the short term, I don't know whether we're going to be able to go back to Keenabale, or like if we are, how long it's going to be. I mean, Bracca's got a long memory. All Hutts do, and I don't think we're going to be welcome. With Mum and Dad having lit out as well. I don't know. I think it's the best we've got. I mean, ultimately, wherever you are, that's home enough for me. And we've got a roof and a workshop and a huge set of guns, you know, and we've got friends around, I suppose, but I don't know.
Are we gonna be able to... Can we invite Mom and Dad home for, like, a housewarming?
Aye, as soon as it's safe for them to meet up with us and us safe to meet them. Like, I'm not planning on never seeing him again. You know, we just need to go to ground for a little bit, I think, just while the storm settles. I mean, we're used to that back at home when there are those ruin storms going on and we can't go out to the bloody kiss or anything like that. We just got to hunker down in the workshop. This is just one of those times. You know, we just got to wait for the storm to settle down and then we can all get back together, and maybe they'll find somewhere safe for us to go and meet them, a new home. Or maybe they'll go back and let us know when it's safe to go back to Keenabale and the house and the workshop.
I need to work out what my program is supposed to do when we have a home system, because I need to update data if this is home. Because I have a moving out priority order, but it involved a lot more boxes.
Aye, we're travelling lighter, I think, than we planned originally when we were moving into our own place. Aye, certainly.
Well, if this is home, and this is moving out, first new home, there's a protocol.
And he sort of presses a couple of buttons, and a kind of hologram pops out, and it's just a picture of the family, and it just says, "Congratulations on your new home. Good luck for the future. You're all grown up now. We love you." From parents.
Tychus kind of stands and looks at that for a long moment, and then he just walks over and just grasps Roy in a big old four-armed hug, kind of buries his head into Roy's shoulder, and just for a second, Tychus's kind of cocky bravado cracks, and his shoulders kind of shake a little bit. On anyone else, you'd say that maybe they were crying, but not Tychus. No, never Tychus. And he just gives Roy this big, long hug, and then he kind of lets him go, and one of his hands scratches away at the bottom of his eye. Again, it's just an itch. There's nothing there. There's definitely no tears there. And he looks at Roy and just goes, "I love you, brother."
I'm incapable of feeling love.
Oh, I don't know. And he kind of gets you in a headlock and kind of gives you a knuckling along your crest, and then kind of shakes himself up and goes, "Oh, come and see what I've done to Clementine. So you know how when I built your arm, I put in those range augmenters and that augmented spin barrel to give it that extra oomph? Well, I've managed to miniature." And he's lost in this enthusiasm, kind of once again masking up, kind of one arm round Roy, dragging him over and pointing to him all these new bits and bats he's adding, and you can see where the grapple hook's been taken off to make extra space for this like 3-barreled rotating part to it, and he's just lost in this enthusiasm once again. And while he's doing that, like his lower right arm, without anybody noticing, gets handed a small handkerchief from 455, comes up, rubs under his right eye, and then back into a dirty pocket, and then carries on again.
I've just had this realization that Tychus's race, because it's got multiple arms, possibly does multi-threading on lots of different things at the same time. So it's like during, like though you're defaulting to the pure joy of making stuff, you're multi-threading your emotions at the same time, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah, quite possibly. His second brain has taken over.
It's gone off and had a mope. What's everyone else doing during this brief respite?
The doc will, yes, he will have set up some little space as his quarters as much as anything. I imagine if anybody is still injured, he will have tried to treat them as best he can, give or take, how in the midst of, something fanatically engineering they are, but he will try and catch them at some point. The two things that are on my mind are, one, TBC, who last we checked had just rebooted after we went through the golden shiny thing and it shut down. He rebooted it in the cockpit end of last episode, and I don't know if we'd got any further, whether it just shut down or there was anything else with it, but some form of diagnostics, just put it.
So TBC has lost a bit of time because you've got enough. Should I make you roll? I really should. Let's make the doc roll just to see exactly what you get. It's going to be mechanics, I'm afraid, but you're fairly smart. You should be all right.
Yeah, the other thing he will have been doing, he will have been unpacking his share of the spoils from the temple, which will have been a bag full of old textbooks that he and TBC will have been looting. So most of what he's going to be doing is going to be reading through these books, pouring through things, finding anything which seems relevant from what we've learned from the temple, anything which seems of interest. Mostly he's focusing on what's relevant to our current situation, if there is anything. But I'm sure at some point, Roy will have been on the bed kicking his heels back and asking awkward questions about babies from thousands of years of of history, and seeing whether what other stuff is there. I'm sure Roy will have picked up some of the books and will have been looking for some of the dirty pictures in it, just trying to work out but the biology is trying to work out where his place in the world is.
Give me a mechanics test, just 1 pebble for TBC.
That's 4 success, 3 advantage.
Oh, wow. Okay. So with 4 successes, you get like a full diagnostic as to what happened. As soon as it went in, it went on to emergency battery and then it drained. It received commands from yourself at about an infinite rate.
Right.
So you would surmise, because you were in a place where they were infinite use,
yeah,
it took infinite commands and they shut down because Tychus is savvy enough to go, overload switches, they're a good idea. because he makes things that go boom, and he wants them to go boom at the right sort of time. Also, you get the insight that the reason Roy didn't shut down is because Roy is designed very specifically to remain conscious at all times. So Roy, so there's a minimal loss of Roy ever losing its personality. Whereas TBC hasn't been built like this. TBC just went, danger, and shut down. If you see what I mean.
Do I have any sense of what those instructions might have been?
Yeah, you can use those advantage to kind of get a little bit more insight and to try and go through. You can pull a massive wad of files, and a lot of it is stuff that you would say to TBC every day, but over time you kind of get, so you already had banked because you're the only person who did it, but you already had banked a kind of a social advantage when you're dealing with your own personal life.
I'll remind you at this point that because this was a gift on Life Day, we had TBC for a day or two at this point.
Yes.
There isn't an every day we'll do this, because we've not had him that long.
No. But the different versions of yourself have had a version of TBC is the thing.
Oh.
So essentially, you've got a large number of these kind of commands and things in there.
Okay.
So you already had a bank of free blue for personal interactions, which were essentially an insight to prophecy. By doing what you've done, I'm going to bump that up to 4. So you have 4 boost dice that you can spend at some point. Just make a note of this. You can spend at some point when you're interacting, because you've kind of got an insight to alternate paths, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
You've got your finger in the choose your own adventure book of life kind of thing, and that's giving you a little bit more. With that level of success, you're also savvy to realize that this could destroy you. If you get obsessed with this as an idea, then you don't do anything with the rest of your life, because you spend the rest of your life just trying to find out what the other versions of yourself did.
Right, yeah, okay.
There is an info hazard in this entire thing, but the doc is smart enough to go, that could be very unhealthy, if you see what I mean. As for the medical texts, make me a education roll. The difficulty is 2 as you study.
It's 3 successes and 2 advantage.
Okay.
The doc is rolling well, and this is flummoxing the GM.
You are. So again, you have another pool of successes of blue dice. I'm going to say a total of 5, unless you want to spend those advantage elsewhere, unless you're looking for something specific, when you're dealing with Force-sensitive patients.
Okay, I don't yet have anything specific. At the minute, I'm still struggling. We're still putting together why was this place cloning? I mean, we knew that the place was cloning idealized avatars from each race. Yeah, with Force-sensitive powers. It's focusing on Force-specific people then.
Right. A couple of things. One, you have read one of your wives' research into Force-sensitive beings. Force-sensitive parasites exist. They're horribly misunderstood. There is a galactic history of people misunderstanding what Force-sensitive parasites are. But there's these parasitic organisms that exist that live on the living Force. It's a kind of a very haphazard way of seeing if someone is Force-sensitive, because you infect them with parasites, and they are stories of people going, I'll just inject this serum into you, and it'll tell me if you're Force-sensitive. And what they've done is they've injected essentially a bacterium into them, and then checked how the bacterium is propagated. So it's not a good thing. Really, it's not the best, because they're quite hard to get rid of, because they have resistance to most effects, because they're because they're powered by the Force.
Oh, those bacteria with little tiny lightsabers.
Tiny little lightsabers.
You don't want to use antibiotics. You shall go about your business. Well,
So it's definitely, they're definitely a thing that exists. The Force does run along bloodlines and family lines, but it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, so the books are going to be sort of archived from over a couple of thousand years, text on generally Force-sensitive enough material, how the Force works with biology, or at least the current theories as they were current at the time of publication.
Yeah, these are definitely not current theories. They are really no current theories about, because they're just not available. When you grew up in the ranks of a medical doctor, all that information, which was esoteric to begin with, became less so, and you get the general feeling it was restricted by the Jedi Temple before the Empire, and now it's completely unavailable. This is the best that you can get, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
because
but there's also going to be a reason why these texts in particular were in this temple. So, so it's just a matter. To some extent, this is going to be a matter of picking out, right, why would books on this subject be here and not books on something related? It's trying to work out what they were trying to. So, for example, I can't remember the guy's name.
Amon-Ra.
No, the basilisk that Roy created.
Krell.
Yeah.
Krell-Ra.
So, yeah, the question is, would Krell have been force sensitive? Should we have picked up on that? It's not just like the temple responded to biological beings, it responded to force-sensitive biological beings.
So there's two elements here, and you'd have to look at some of the other stuff that's recovered, and I'll need to check to see what Kay is doing as well. But as you're kind of going through your research, it isn't just a case of taking two force-sensitive people and having them have children. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have a force-sensitive child. There's a lot more to like fit and the way that you think and the way that you are, and like there's an inner essence element to this, if you see what I mean. And you start heading towards the stuff about the Bridge of Souls, and that what they were trying to do was they were trying to create a consistent way of always having force-sensitive people in the world. But they were also looking for a way, the best way to do that is to not die.
I mean, so my sort of running theory at the minute is the fact that the 3 force-sensitive members of the scavenger hunt happened to be on the same party and came together is a little more than a coincidence. It's starting to feel like, okay, as they say, the force runs through things and unexpected things sort of converge. There isn't coincidences. There's the force caused certain things to happen. The doc is starting to run the theory there is something to do with this, and the Bridge of Souls may well have been, can we make destiny converge on a thing by looking at what destinies there are?
The force is attracted to itself. You read through various philosophies and things. On the dark side, it's narcissistic. On the light side, it's hypersocial. But the result is the same in the sense that the force is constantly trying to unite itself as it's split across the cosmos. So it always it always slowly but surely converges upon itself. Is an insight that you get. This will consume most of your time, by the way. A lot of this is incredible esoteria.
The doc isn't going to get everything out of a 3-day voyage and pouring through books, but he's enjoying. This is the conclusion we're starting to draw. The force is complicated, but he's starting to become a believer.
The other insight that I'll throw into that, given the amount of academic successes you got, was this research and the research with the kind of the crystal, the dark crystals.
Okay.
They kind of tailor into each other. You can see how an understanding of how for want of a better word, the soul or the force sensitivity living essence and the manipulation of that could be used as a weapon.
Okay.
One of the things you do realize is that any ability that you would have to heal someone, you could equally harm, because kind of what you're doing with force healing is you're kind of putting the energy that makes a living thing back into its proper order. If you pull that like a child pulling a parent's trouser leg, you just keep pulling that, it'll break, and that will really, really, really hurt.
Yeah. Okay.
On a fundamental level. And you can argue that's evil. That's up to your character. Mikey, what is Key up to?
Well, firstly, I want to point out to Mim that the doc spent a lot of time researching how to make force-sensitive babies, so he's on board. But what Kay's doing, what's interesting is Kay is one of the finest pilots in the galaxy, and that's without saying anything. He's just very good at what he does. However, he used to pilot starfighters, and pretty much only pilot starfighters. This is the first time he's ever gone into warp, so he doesn't really know what to do, because all of the starfighters that he piloted didn't have warp capability. They tend not to give your average TIE fighter the ability to go into hyperspace. So he sits there for a bit watching, because he's not really seen this before, enjoying the spectacle. And then after about 10 minutes, he fills in what he would have done if he was on active rotation. He goes up, he goes to his bunk, he starts fixing things, cleaning things. And to start with, it's his pistols, and he spends a bit of time cleaning the pistols, taking care of them like somebody who cares about his tools, because he has a limited amount of things. So he cleans them, he cares for them, he makes sure they're all fresh and clean. And while he's doing it, he's just muttering to himself, almost like a conversation. It's nothing particularly deep. He's just having a little argument with himself about what he's doing. And maybe not what he's doing, maybe other things. He's just having a little bit of a chat about how things are going. And every so often, if you go past his dorm, he's going, well, of course. He says things like, well, that's obvious. And things like, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I don't know. Just leave it. I'll do it. And after about maybe an hour or so of doing the guns and his armor and stuff like that, he moves on to the duffel bag that they picked up, full of objects from those shelves in the library. And he picks them up, and he's still not looking at them in the same way he wasn't looking at his guns. He's doing something that he would do, like, because he's done it again and again and again, and he picks them up and he plays with them, and he clicks and he argues with himself about the best way to do stuff, and he has a bit of a chat about how if he turns that this way, it goes this, and he turns that that way. And he just spends a lot of his time alone, filling time.
And now he masters the Rubik's Cube.
Not quite Rubik's Cube, no. But, yeah, he doesn't really interact with any. If anybody comes and talks to him, he snaps out of it immediately and talks to Roy about how we can't power slide into warp. No, wait, shouldn't power slide into warp. We should try power sliding into warp.
See, Roy's quite interested in what people are doing in their spaces.
Yeah.
So he sort of would wander by and just like,
Is this your room?
Yeah. Kay obviously picks his room first. It's not the biggest room. It's a very small room, very small bunk.
So, Kay, as you're playing with the various cubes, a question springs to mind. Would you want to ask it?
I think we can help each other.
Give me a roll. Difficulty is 2 purple, please.
Okay. I am rolling dreadfully. That is a failure and 2 advantages.
oh dear.
Yeah. The doc's got all the good rolls.
So you can spend those 2 advantage how you want.
I don't want to break anything. That's basically it.
But what you find is you can't get it open.
Yeah.
But there is a specific one that you focus on, that you kind of hyper focus on.
I imagine I can't get it open because I'm not of one mind about how to do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet. So it's a bit frustrating, to be honest, that one hand is trying to do one thing and one hand is trying to do the other. But
the rest of the party will notice, unless you're telling me you do something specific to stop this, the rest of the party will notice that you have this with you.
Oh yeah, I'm not hiding what I'm doing. I'm not hiding in fact, I'm not really focusing on what I'm doing. I'm just acting that way. I would like to use those advantages to potentially, when I come back to this, means that I've made some progress. So just basically bank them for using for blue dice the next time I pick them up in a few days or something like that.
And for reference, this is an octagon purple.
Okay.
Just again for those listening along, they're like, is it a pyramid? Is it a cube? It's an octagon. It's a purple octagon because they come in more than 2 shapes. Let's be honest. It's a complicated piece of technology. Right, and having everyone talked about babies, doing their research, fixing their armor, and desperately trying to figure out where their place in the universe, you finally get to a place in the universe. Can I have another astrogation check, please, from Key?
I'm going to need my hands back. I need to go to the cockpit. And I walk up to the cockpit and have a little bit of a go on astrogation. What's my difficulty?
The difficulty is 2. You're leaving hyperspace.
Finally, I got a success. 1 success, but 1 threat.
Okay, so the threat is that you have not come out the way that you've not... 2 things. You've come out backwards, but you've also not come out quite in the space that you wanted to. But luckily, because Tychus has done the thing, you're at full speed. So can I have a piloting check?
I think what happened is we sit there, and Roy comes in to strap himself in, and I look over at Roy and go, "You could try it." And we just try and slide out.
So you Coruscant drift.
Yeah.
Out of hyperspace.
Yeah.
And now I need a piloting check. You have
A free upgrade.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the difficulty is 2 with at least 3 blue from Tychus's changes.
It should, I'm going to say this before I roll it, be impossible for you to get a bad roll out of this, but I will say.
But we are using D1. She's notoriously fickle and evil.
Oh, Jesus. So that was 4 yellow, 3 blue, and 2 purple, and I got 3 successes and an advantage.
Cool. So the shadow that was following you was like a whole school of Purgle, which are these beautiful looking space whales. They're essentially these kind of long, and like you all get to see kind of a beautiful light, and the fact that you're drifting and sliding is perfect, because it means that you don't actually touch any of them or hit any of them. There is a bit of a terrifying moment where you think you're about to slam into what seems to be hundreds of these absolutely kind of... The short version is they're big purple space whales with long kind of tendrils on the back, and you can see that they pulse very much like hyperspace engines do. And they have this kind of like pulsing through, and they essentially tracked you through hyperspace.
I was going to say, are they naturally hyperspace travelers, or have we pulled them in?
Kay would know that they're natural hyperspace travelers. The rest of you, maybe, probably not, because it's on the list of hazards.
That is beautiful. Everybody look out a window.
Ooh.
And it's this kind of just this general arc as well of these beautiful, beautiful looking things. You are on the outskirts of the Surreal system, and then as you look at these whales, your eyes track, and there is another creature here.
Okay.
And it is, to put it mildly, no small moon. There is a Leviathan. In terms of whales, this enormous, slightly glowing in the dark, occluding the stars, beautiful looking, massive, living thing.
Does it look like it might eat us? Because I am desperate to go and have a look. I mean, it's getting closer.
And as you gently drift closer and into range, as the ship tags in for a closer look, Roy's radio, which has a universal translator in it, picks up a signal and starts running through whatever that signal is. However, those of you who are force sensitive don't need the signal. You hear very clearly a voice that sounds very, very much like a beautiful, beautiful song in an inhuman way, but you all understand it to be saying, "Hello." And we'll leave it there. And on that whale-related excitement, tune in to the next show. Thank you very much to my fantastic team. Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, all the other internet stuff that you're supposed to do with podcasts. And it's been a journey. Listen in for the next episode of Force Majeure Shadows of the Jedi. Bye.
But before we leave you, this episode's patron is Mark Smith, who also goes as Crossthread in a galaxy far, far away. Mark is a recent addition to both the show, the server, and our backers, and is a very welcome one, being, as he is, a thoroughly lovely chap. And Crossthread is a fascinating sounding character in desperate need of a campaign to play in. So, if you are a Star Wars GM on the hunt for more players, pop into our Discord, link in the show notes. I guarantee you a rich harvest of excellent role players, all desperate to put their lives on the line at the whims of D1 and your GMing skills. Consider it, and come and say hi. In fact, just come and say hi generally. Our Discord is lovely and welcoming. It's free to get in, though patrons get access to this super secret patron channel, wherein I talk nonsense slightly in advance of everywhere else. It's a very welcoming place full of lovely people, and we hope you will come and join us there. Right, that's enough of that. Look after yourselves, my loves. Remain delightful. Stay safe. Look after yourselves and each other as always. And we will see you next time. Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Edge Studios. Our intro music is by the amazing Sly Fox Audio. Check out more of her work at soundcloud.com/SlyFoxAudio. Our outro music is Suburban Outlaw instrumental version by Forget the Whale, used with gratitude under a Creative Commons license. Many of the sound effects and soundscapes are created using Sirenscape, because epic games need epic sounds. If you're enjoying the show and want to support us, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/forcemajeurepod, where for as little as $1 a month you get access to outtakes, adverts, various other stuff, and my fortnightly ramblings. You can drop us a coffee at ko-fi.com/forcemajeurepod, or you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to interact with us, there's a few ways you can do that. We are on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as @forcemajeurepod, and we're over on Mastodon as @forcemajeurepod at dice.can. You can also join our Discord, link in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening and being with us as we tell these stories. We hope you are having fun, and we will see you next time.